Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name is Matthew. Today I'm here to talk to you about why you may be seeing the opposite with your manifestation. But before we get into that, I want to ask you, what if you were in need of my help in creating your perfect life, or helping you disband the things that are stopping you from getting there? Well, check out the links down below in the comment section or the description. They'll take you to my website where you can see the services I offer to help you with just that. We are so close to 4,000 subscribers, so if you could leave a like and a comment on this video to boost the algorithm, and if you aren't already subscribed to the channel, that would mean an awful lot to me. With that out of the way, let's get into this video. If you've clicked on any video with this kind of title, I can only assume that right now you are going through something painful. You are going through something that hurts, that makes you wonder why you even bothered, that makes you wonder whether or not manifestation actually works, and makes you want to give up. If that's the case, then obviously I'm extremely sorry to hear that. But as someone who has gone through the process themselves, experienced all the good, the bad, and the ugly from it, I can promise you that by the end of this video, you are going to have the clarity and the understanding of why things may be happening and what to do going forward. I'm also here to remind you that as someone who's gone through it, I can promise you that when you persist and when you stay consistent in changing your awareness, changing your perception, and doing the techniques that you enjoy and just staying true to your end result, you will get your desire. No matter what you are seeing right this second, you will get that desire. It is destined to happen. It is yours, and you owe it to yourself not to give up. There are two main reasons why you will be experiencing the opposite of what you wish to manifest. There is kind of a third, however, I don't tend to utilize that as a genuine reason, but I will mention it at the end of the video as like an honorable mention, just for the sake of talking about it. But the first reason, and you need to be genuinely honest with yourself when considering this reason as a possibility, but the first reason is, are you being vigilant enough with your mindset? Now, a lot of people come to me saying, I've done affirming in the morning, I've done visualization at lunch, I've done scripting in the evening, I've fallen asleep to affirmations tape, I'm doing all of these things, and yet I'm still receiving nightmares, I'm still receiving the opposite, I'm still having panic attacks, I'm still having all of these things. I'm still seeing my desire to be opposite to what I want. What they're missing out in a lot of cases, and this is why you do need to be honest with yourself, is they are only watching their mindset when they consciously choose to do techniques. So they're only keeping an eye on the end result when they're doing affirmations or scripts or whatever technique that they enjoy. But the rest of the day, they're just staying as the same old version of themselves. When you do these techniques, you are claiming yourself to be a new thing, a new person, a new version. And while, yes, a couple of affirmations could manifest a desire, for the big desires that we have a lot of old story to, for most of us is not quite that simple. For most of us, we do need to tackle the old story or find ways to look past it or do something so that these new affirmations hold more potency up here than everything we've already experienced. Now, unfortunately, there are a fair few amount of people that will do techniques and think that they have done all the manifestation that they should be doing, but the rest of the time between their scripts and their affirmations and their visualizations, they're panicking about what the other person's doing or whether or not they're qualified enough for the job or whatever desire it is that you're going for. They're still staying in the old version because they're saying that I'm not worthy for XYZ, or how could they do this to me, or why am I experiencing this, or why do these things keep showing up? They're getting too invested in what they once knew, as in like the old story, or too invested in the fact that there's no movement or opposite movement. Now, obviously, if you've clicked on this video, you've come to find out how to move past it, but this is one way. Stop investing in anything that your new version wouldn't invest in. When you are affirming or scripting or visualizing or whatever technique, you are stating, I am now this. I am now in this relationship. I am now this kind of person. I now have this job. So when you're done with the techniques, that doesn't mean you then go back to worrying about whether or not the person still loves you, or whether you can get that job, or whether your business is going to succeed. Because that's all old version of you thinking. You cannot exist in the new story and the old story and expect to get only positive movement going forward. The only reason why you probably feel like you're getting the opposite more than you're getting the good is because your conscious mind is associating with these negative thoughts much easier because you have the evidence to suggest to yourself that this is true. If I was to say to myself right now that my person loves me, but in fact, obviously we broke up not too long ago, that affirmation is going to be a little bit harder for me to feel into and feel as true than if I was to say, oh, they don't love me. Because I currently have 3D evidence to suggest they don't love me, which is what our logical mind looks for. But this is old version of you thinking. So you can't think as the old version and then do techniques as the new version and expect to only get positive movement. There's that saying of my father's house has many mansions. You are choosing which mansion you want to go into. Are you choosing only positive or are you choosing the negative? Because when you're choosing both, your logical mind is going to find it easier to take on board the negative and therefore impress the negative into your subconscious mind and have it play out. Which is why it feels like when you've done a million affirmations, you may still get the negative. And that may be because you are still investing too much in the old story. You are still investing in what's happening or what's happened that is undesirable and not looking past it as the new version of yourself. Because the new version of yourself, if you were to exist right now in the relationship that you want or in the job that you want or with the money that you want, the problem that you are experiencing wouldn't exist. It just simply wouldn't exist in this reality. So if it wouldn't exist your new version, there's no reason why your old version should give it any attention whatsoever. Because you are supposed to be thinking, feeling, and acting as though you are your new version. You are supposed to take on the awareness and the perception of this new version who wouldn't even experience it in the first place. So the first reason why you may be getting the opposite is you're just not being vigilant enough. And I know that may be a tough pill to swallow. And if you do realize that that's you, that's honestly a great thing. Because it means that you know that you have room to improve, which means if right now you're wondering, why am I not getting my desire? And me saying that has just clicked for you, then you know that now you have the progress to change or to work on. So then now getting your desire will become much easier for you, or at least you'll know the right way going forward. But it does take being honest with yourself. And I do understand that for a lot of people that may be a tough pill to swallow because you may be doing it for months, weeks, years, whatever, and then still feeling like, why do I have to do even more work? But if you weren't doing the work effectively to begin with, that would be why. Now, you can never ruin your manifestation. No matter how much you dwelled in the old story, how much you reacted, how much you wanted to punch them, or how much you did actually punch them, you will never ruin your manifestation. You can only delay it by being in two states at the same time. Because it's your dominant state that manifests. And if you find it a lot easier for your conscious mind to take on board the negative, that's going to be what is dominantly fed to your subconscious mind. So you need to ensure that you are handling situations the way your new version would be handling them, so that you can receive what your new version would receive. So that can become your dominant state, and then you will experience what your new version experiences. Now, I'm not expecting you to be solely 100% positive new version, because we're all human, we all slip up, we all have triggers. But this is mostly for the people that feel like doing techniques on their own is enough, but watching their thoughts and awareness other than that isn't. You may not be being vigilant enough. The second reason, and again, you will need to be honest whether or not this is you or whether the other point was you, the 3D may just not have caught up. Now, I know that may be irritating to hear because it just means continue doing what you're doing. But the reason why you may be experiencing the opposite of what you want, or no movement at all, because no movement could be considered opposite movement depending on your desire, is because all of the old story that you invested in before, all of the tears that you cried, all of the dwelling, all of the panic attacks, all of the I can't get this, oh woe is me, that is normal, it's human, we all have those kind of situations, but all of that stuff would have impressed, or more than likely would have impressed. So now what you are experiencing is old story playing out now. And what that means is current mindset, current thoughts, current perception, current awareness, that will become your future's 3D. But, and this is a big but, just because the 3D hasn't caught up yet, doesn't mean you can take your foot off the pedal. It doesn't mean you can look at the circumstance and say, oh, the 3D hasn't caught up yet. I can, dwell in all of this. I can feel into it. I can really accept and associate all of this negativity to be true for me because my current thoughts will be my future. Because obviously then that means it will continue to play out and you'll recreate. You must look at this with the understanding that what you are experiencing is old thoughts, But if you're able to stay as this new version, if you're able to look past it as best as you can in a healthy way, I don't mean smother it, I don't mean pretend it doesn't exist, I mean accept it, but know that you are changing what you're experiencing by going up here, then you know that your future 3D will catch up to what your current thoughts are now. So just because you are experiencing the negative right now, that does not mean that means that currently your mindset is in the wrong place. Now, this is obviously why I said at the beginning of this point and the last one, you need to be honest with yourself. You need to tell yourself, or at least sit there and think it through and think, yes, I haven't been vigilant enough, or no, I would genuinely say that I've been really good with it. This must just be old story playing out. And if I stay true to everything that I've done of the good work up until now and then continue with the good work, I will experience what I want to experience in the future. But your only goal, your only responsibility is to make sure that you are dwelling in the new story, is to make sure that you know, based on what your mindset is right now, you will experience your desire, whether it's a day, a week, a month, a year from now. If you really want it, if it's something that really is important to you, if you love this desire, if you want it genuinely, the time doesn't matter. But you need to decide, obviously, whether or not you are being vigilant or whether you're not. And in this point, it may just be that the old story is still playing out. But the good thing about that as well that I want to point out to kind of set your mind at ease is there is only so much old story that can play out if you are being vigilant. Let's say, for example, and obviously it's not quite this linear, but let's say, for example, you did 3 days of spiraling in the past, so that means you now have to experience 3 days of negative circumstances, just as an example. If you're staying vigilant while these 3 days are playing out, you know that once those 3 days are up, no more negative circumstances are to pop up unless you have allowed them to enter your awareness and you have associated them to be true for you. You have dwelled on them, you've said, yep, this is true for me, I'm going to panic, I'm going to worry, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. But if you're staying vigilant in what you are experiencing right now, in what you're seeing, you know this will have to end in order to make room for my new story. This will have to break down and fall apart and dissolve in front of me in order to make room for my new story. Because if you have it up here, awareness is God, which means there's no stopping it. If your awareness is in the right place, regardless of what you're seeing out there, regardless of the stagnation of your manifestation, regardless of the pain, regardless of the hurt, of the wanting to give up, if you stay true and you persist, this will actualize and there's nothing that can stop it. The third reason why you may be experiencing the opposite, or more so of an honorable mention, shall I say, is the purge. Now, I don't like to talk about the purge all that much because I personally think it's very contradictory to the manifestation process of naturalness and enjoyment to assume something that means you have to experience negative in order to experience positive afterward. For those of you that don't know what the purge is essentially the idea that your subconscious mind must flush out the old story to make way for the new story. And by flushing it out, it means, making it appear in your reality for you to experience in order to remove it to make way for the new story. Think of it somewhat like closing a window on your laptop. You click the X button and it says, are you sure you want to do this? Now you can click yes and remove it, or you can click no and it keeps the tab open. Think of it kind of like that. Now the reason that I don't like to assume the purge to be true is because I don't see the point. I don't see the point in experiencing something negative or assuming that you must experience something negative before you can get your desire. Because I've had plenty of desires manifest without that happen. And yes, I've had plenty of desires manifest with that happen. But since I stopped assuming the purge to exist, since I stopped looking for all of those videos to say, does the purge exist or how to look past the purge and yada, 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 and I just assumed my manifestation comes in the most amazing, healthy, beneficial way, that's exactly what's happened. Now, the only reason I am mentioning the purge is because I feel like a lot of people will probably comment it saying, oh, you missed the purge, you missed this, blah, 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 blah. So there it is. The purge is the idea that your subconscious mind must flush out the negative by proving its existence to you in order to make way for the new story. Now, all this means is that you must basically do the same thing that you're experiencing in point 2, where even if the purge is 100% existence and you are experiencing the purge, you must just simply accept it as something that's happening and let it go. Because if you dwell on it, if you go, oh, why is this happening? What do I do? How do I stop this? Panic, panic, panic. You run the possibility of creating more, which is obviously then going to keep it stored in your subconscious mind and then yada, 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 which is why I don't really like the purge. But if you're able to, the same way in the second point, just simply let it go, move past it, and know that what you're doing, your current work, will become your future 3D, you will be perfectly fine. The purge isn't necessarily meant to be some scary, like ritualistic, sacrificial thing. It's simply just the idea that your subconscious mind is making room for your new story. So in a way, the purge is actually a good thing, but if you're able to look at it like a good thing, again, it's all about perception. If you're able to perceive it as, I'm only experiencing this because it's making room for what I want to experience, you'll be all good. But if you see it as, why the fuck is all this happening? What do I do? How do I get out of this? You run the potential of creating more. And obviously that's not something we want. So if you want to move past the purge, simply just accept it and let it move on. If you want your end result, accept it, move on, continue to persist. If you want to make sure that you're being vigilant, just sit back and have a look at your thoughts and everything and see, are you genuinely on the right track? And be honest with yourself. The most important factor about this video is to be honest with yourself. Make sure that you can genuinely say which one of these three you're experiencing. I would advise going for the first two because I don't think assuming the purge into existence is a good thing, because that means you have to experience the negative in order to experience the positive. But see which one of the three you feel like you fit into and then adjust accordingly. I really hope this video has helped. If you've enjoyed it, leave me a like, comment, and subscribe. Push us to the 4K. It would mean so much. And I hope you all have a good rest of your day. You got this. I love you all. Bye-bye.